Today's topic is neurohacking chronic pain. Welcome to the Hologram Podcast. Every major science publication and cutting-edge physicist is calling our universe a hologram. I'm extending that conversation to include our human body as well as being a hologram. I discuss this in more detail in my book, Holographic Healing, available on Amazon. This podcast is for introducing life, health, healing concepts based on the holographic principles and how to incorporate those principles into a holographic lifestyle. The hologram means that we're connected. Within our body, within the universe, everything is connected. We are holograms. The reason we say this and we know this to be true is because the smallest unit in our body is a cell. And through cloning technology, you can take the information out of one cell and place it in another and generate an entire duplicate of a nervous system. And that demonstrates the holographic nature of our body. Another important feature of holographic communication is that it's constant and instantaneous throughout the entire hologram. And within the human nervous system, that means that the communication from in between each layer of the nervous system is communicating constantly and instantaneously to and from between the cells, the muscles, the tissue, the organs, and the bones. In the holographic lifestyle, we examine the concepts of mind, fitness, and health through the filter of the nervous system. We're interviewing cutting-edge thought leaders and scientists and people of knowledge that will advance our abilities to understand these principles. I'm your host, Dr. George Gonzalez. I'm the founder of Quantum Neurology. I'm the creator of the holographic number theory and the author of the holographic healing series, and now the creator and host of the Hologram Podcast. This show is for education and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to examine, treat, diagnose, or cure any injury, illness, infection, or condition. It is to present concepts and possibilities that the listener or viewer can investigate further. Concepts presented by doctors and experts are their personal opinions and are not promises or guarantees of outcome. Please take your health into your own hands, do your own research, and ask the advice of an expert when dealing with your personal health or life issues. Wow, today we're going to be speaking about chronic pain. And pain is an amazing topic. It's an amazing subject because we've all experienced pain. We all know what pain is like. But even if you've had severe pain in your life, we're talking about chronic pain syndromes. And these people are suffering from serious, serious issues. And I like teaching that pain is an illusion. It's not something physical. I could take my finger and I could cut my finger off and I could remove it from my body and I could send it somewhere. We cannot do that with pain. Pain is a signal which occurs within our body. And I like using the example of a door at a restaurant or a store that has an alarm on it. If the door is open, the alarm goes off. And it's not until that door is shut and locked properly that the alarm is able to go off or to shut off. And so what we're looking at in our body is we're looking at something is disconnecting. And that is causing the pain signal to occur. A complete disconnect of our body is death. Reintegration of our body is health and life and, these kind of ideas. So, one other concept I'd like to remind you of is pain is a sensation. Just like when we have an itch on our back, we could scratch that itch and that itch may move around to other areas of our back. And it's like, wow, why does it do that? It's because it's not a physical occurrence. It's an experience. And it's an amorphous field that moves around our body. And that's why pain could increase or decrease. Even just by thinking about our pain, sometimes we could control it in that way. So these are concepts that I've been teaching doctors for years. And one of the premier doctors that has been using these principles of sensory rehabilitation is Dr. Katinka Van Der Merwe. She's a chiropractor out of Arkansas. She's the author of 2 books, and she is a premier leader in helping people with pain syndromes. People fly to her office from around the world, and she brings hope to these people living in unbearable pain all while raising 4 children, which is an amazing feat in and of itself. Dr. Katinka, welcome to the Hologram. Please tell us what you can about pain syndromes and educate everybody about this concept, because I don't think most people really understand the gravity of this serious issue.
Thank you, Dr. George. Thank you for having me on this evening. It is such an honor to be on this podcast with you. You have certainly taught me so much in my career, and I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing without you. So I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, thank you so much for taking it on and doing what you're doing. So thank you.
You're welcome. And, on that note, I just want to say to my audience, if you're listening to this and you're suffering from pain, or somebody that you love is suffering, I know it's incredibly difficult to find a doctor that will, oh my goodness, just listen to you to begin with, and second, really truly care about you. And so we may never meet, but I hope eventually that my work will reach you, and that it's really going to make a difference with some of these conditions that we're working with, because it is groundbreaking work. And I am extremely passionate about what I do for a living. To me, I don't care if I'm, 70 years old one day, in some way or fashion, I still want to be working with this. It is incredibly difficult to explain to somebody that doesn't suffer from ongoing chronic severe pain how that tears your psyche and your body and your life down. So I work with chronic pain conditions like fibromyalgia, and also on the more severe spectrum, complex regional pain syndrome, or CRPS, that used to be known as reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And what that basically means, if you don't know, is it's intense neurologic, burning, crushing pain that starts after an injury. The injury is usually to the limb, and it can be like a fracture or a sprain strain, or anything as innocent as even getting blood drawn, the needle entering the skin. So anything that angers the nervous system can start this syndrome. And the official word is that there is no cure for this condition. So if you are in this horrible pain, and they say it's the worst chronic pain that a human being can suffer from, you really have no hope for the most part. And so that is where this new work comes in. It gives hope where there was none before.
It's truly amazing. And I've been in pain personally. I broke my tailbone and I've experienced some pretty high levels of pain. But that's not what we're talking about. This is beyond broken bone pain. This is beyond childbirth pain even. Dr. Katinka has referred to this as people feeling like they're set on fire. And this is one of those things that it's really hard to grasp. And the first time I worked with somebody with this condition, I was doing my neurological evaluation, and I was checking grip strength, and the person just fell over in pain. And I was just like shocked. I've never seen anything like that before. They never taught us about this in school. And so to see this in the first time and just kind of, not knowing what to do or what this is about. And the difficulty is many of these people are accused of faking it. In medical language, that's called malingering. They're it's all in their head. They're making this up, and just those kind of things. And I'd have to say, trust me, when you see these people in the life they're living, they are not faking this. This is a neurological occurrence. It's visually visible through the neurologic appearance of their skin. Their skin color changes. Their body temperature changes. Their hands get or the part of their body that's affected gets clammy. And I've been able to help many people with this condition, and there's been people I have not been able to help also. And that's the hardest part about this, is having an answer that could help this community, and then also knowing that there are some people that don't respond to care. And I don't know what your experience is with that, Dr. Katinka, you've taken this work on and really focused on this community. I have very, very little experience compared to you when dealing with this on a full-time basis. But I'm so happy to be able to share this concept and see you take it on and take it on to the level that you're doing. Now, I remember when I first taught you this, you were just like, well, I don't know, Dr. George, and all these things. And I said, Dr. Kat, if you take this work on, you're going to get patients from around the world visiting you. Didn't I say that? And what's happened? Tell me.
People from around the world.
They come in now and they see Dr. Kat for weeks on end. Some people move to come see Dr. Katinka so they could be close by to her, because that's how important it is to get your life back. When you have this level of pain, it's commonly referred to as a suicide condition, because many people choose to commit suicide to end their misery. And it's so sad and it's so debilitating to see that and deal with patients that have done that. And I know you've done that, Dr. Katinka, and how serious that is for you and how passionate you are about helping this community. And I'm so excited that we're having this conversation to share this and let people know there's an opportunity for you. If you cannot see Dr. Katinka, we have doctors that we've trained in this concept in quantum neurology. You could go to the website, www.quantumneurology.com, and find the doctor nearest you, and make sure they're trained appropriately, preferably a quantum neurologist, certified practitioner. But regardless of your situation, Dr. Katinka is the doctor who's really taking this chronic pain community on and helping that community in a very big way. Now, Dr. Katinka, when people come to you, just give an example of what range of things you're dealing in. Are you even dealing with the regular low back pain, or what most chiropractors would be considering the regular type of stuff that we see in a typical chiropractic office? What kind of patients, where are they in their condition when they come to you?
So that's a great question. I always refer to it my old practice and my new practice, which is 5 years old, and the chronic pain people that I work with. And so I certainly still see, your normal run-of-the-mill chiropractic patients, low back, headaches, things like that. But because I've gotten such a reputation for dealing with really critical cases, I would say about 80% of my practice now deals with the really serious chronic pain conditions. And, I just want to add a note, Dr. George. Medically, patients in this country especially are so trained in black and white diagnoses. I have CRPS or I don't, or I have fibromyalgia or I don't. And, it's like the body is supposed to know what these conditions are, but your body doesn't care about the labels we put on these conditions. And so it is very possible to have what I call gray area CRPS or fibromyalgia, where you don't fit the classic mode and the classic mold that doctors want to cubbyhole you in, and yet you have very severe burning pain. So it is not necessary for you to fit a label for us to work with you, because we do not treat conditions. We balance the nervous system and assist the nervous system in healing in a very sophisticated way so that your body can heal itself from the inside out.
That's absolutely correct and awesome, for people to hear that. And when somebody comes in, how quickly are you expecting to see a shift in their pain when you're working with them?
I expect to see a change usually within the first week to 2 weeks. And so that's what I tell my patients, because, I have patients that come from so far away, Canada, Europe. And so when they come to me, they're all very afraid. They've tried so many things that didn't work for them. And so they'll say, but, how do I know if I spend this money and make this trip that you can help me? And the truth is, we don't have a crystal ball, do we? We would like to be able to predict for our patients whether we can help them. And we go through so much trouble trying to see or trying to ensure that we can. And how we do that is we have a test period. And that period is 4 to 8 days of treatment. And we expect a major change in your pain. I like to tell patients in a way that you've never responded to treatment before we proceed with treatment.
Right. Excellent. And just so people have an understanding, when people hurt their back, they could go have a surgery or they could go to a chiropractor. When people have this level of pain, what are the options aside from what we're talking about that people go to, the extreme things that are out there? So
I like to think of ourselves as cowboys out in the Wild West. We are breaking uncharted territory or new ground with our work. The traditional word is that there is no cure for CRPS, but that it is managed. There have been cases of remission, mostly with things like ketamine. And so touching on ketamine, it is a horse tranquilizer, ultimately. And it is fed into the patient's body. It can be done with a nasal spray or through IV at varying concentrations so that you can have a range from a transfusion all the way or an infusion to a coma, where they put you in a coma for a few days. And it's like hitting Control, Alt, and Delete on the central nervous system. Every traditional treatment out there is focused on numbing the pain, interfering the pain, cutting the pain signal, basically divorcing the pain that you're feeling in that limb from the central nervous system, most of them with very severe side effects.
Now, I'm not familiar with the full range that you just described, but I do know that if somebody's put in a ketamine coma, they have to relearn how to walk, they have to relearn how to eat, they have to relearn how to use their body completely. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
In some cases, actually, they've grown quite sophisticated with the ketamine infusions. It is still a very risky procedure. And so they had 2 programs, one in Germany and one in Mexico City. And the German program was shut down. They actually lost too many patients, to the best of my understanding. And it is also possible to suffer a nervous system injury like quadriplegia, through the treatment, so it is very risky. And the scary part is if you have severe pain, when you go through a treatment like this, you absolutely get your hope up. You're very financially invested, and when it doesn't work, as it often doesn't work for many people, that is very, very devastating.
And there's also a risk of a slingshot effect where they may experience some benefit, but then it actually delivers worse pain afterwards. Is that accurate to say?
Yes, I communicate with so many hundreds of CRPS patients, so I like to think of myself as on the ground with the troops, so to speak. And so I hear these stories all the time. And many people will get the treatment and then actually have the CRPS spread to other body parts or become full body. If you're very lucky, it brings your pain down and you're on what I call the ketamine merry-go-round. And, I don't want to sound like I'm picking on a treatment. I absolutely understand the desperation that will drive you to find relief. And some people do find temporary relief. So I get that.
I completely agree with you. And I'm not knocking, because if somebody's contemplating suicide because they're suffering so deeply, and this, aside from quantum neurology, is the only true or viable option out there, I could see why many people are lining up for that care. We're presenting a different philosophy when it comes to rehabilitating the nervous system. We're literally reintegrating each individual layer of sensation, the pain layer, the temperature, the hot and cold, vibration, light touch, deep touch, pressure, proprioception, form recognition. And each of these layers is rehabilitated individually. And when you're using this concept, Katinka, is there a certain layer that you find that's more aggravated than others? when you're working with patients?
Well, certainly we're dealing with the sensory nervous system is huge, and then the cranial nerves. The sensory nervous system, what I find to aggravate patients the most tends to be cold, ice specifically. It is a tough one. I've had patients cry just when I'm holding the ice pack, just out of sheer terror before we get to work, and they realize it really is much more gentle than they would expect. And then the cranial nerves, if I could isolate one nerve that really stands out in dysfunction in every single one of these patients, it's the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is your main parasympathetic cranial nerve. Parasympathetic means resting and digesting, you guys. And for most patients who suffer from CRPS, RSD, that nerve is not working correctly. It also causes massive inflammation all over your body in the nervous system. It causes pain because of the inflammation, and it causes your digestive tract to almost completely shut down in some cases.
That's, those are what we teach in quantum neurology about the actions of cranial nerve 10. And you're seeing that on the extreme where their cranial nerve 10 is shutting off. And that's not usually what we see in clinic. So because of the patient population that you're seeing people with a complete shutdown of this cranial nerve 10, the vagus nerve. I consider it the most important healing nerve in the body because it provides parasympathetic nerve supply to most of the body. And as Dr. Katinka said, parasympathetic is rest, digest, and heal actions of the nervous system. And when people are in pain, they're stuck in the fight, flight, and survival actions of the nervous system. And that's the balance that we have to deal with. And when people are in chronic pain, they're stuck in that fighting, flighting, and surviving side of their nervous system, and they cannot sleep, they cannot digest, they have difficulty in activities and mental functions due to the pain. So it's one of those things that it's such a big deal just to understand the balance of the nervous system. People like to think of it as a teeter-totter, but it's more like 2 cups filling with balance of fluid and balancing each other out. And when you understand the balance concept, then you can start helping people shift from the sympathetic, the fight, flight, survival, into parasympathetic, rest, digest, and heal. And one of the main nerves of doing that is cranial nerve 10. The swallowing and speaking actions of cranial nerve 10 are a way to calm the nervous system down. And it's no coincidence that children suck their thumb, right? Because that's a cranial nerve 10 action that soothes the nervous system, that calms them down. That's the first reflex developed in the nervous system as we're born. It's the suckling reflex. It initiates the digestive tract because when we suck food into our mouth, it initiates the swallowing reflex and initiates the communication all the way down the digestive tract, which is the rest, digest, and heal actions of the nervous system. So what we do in quantum neurology is we balance these things and we stimulate the body with natural actions and reactions to achieve a desired result. And so just giving you some context around what it looks like to work with somebody in quantum neurology when they're dealing with chronic pain. It's a non-invasive system. There's no injections, there's no chemicals or anything of that nature. We're just using natural stimulus to the nervous system to stimulate a desired result. Now, Dr. Katinka, you've used a lot of concepts and different ideas. Where would you say people have the best result in terms of if they're dealing with chronic pain right now, what kind of things should they be looking at? And how would somebody decide for themselves? Maybe we should separate this out. First, we should say, how should somebody decide for themselves, this is my problem. This is, for the first time maybe hearing that this problem they've been suffering is actually CRPS or fibromyalgia. How would they know that?
Well, CRPS, if you just have a computer, an iPad, or a phone, and you look up the symptoms, you're going to have an aha moment. which is, the severe, intense burning that feels like you burned. Something hot burned you. That's a burning feeling afterwards. And it can also be deep bone-crushing pain. I always tell patients, if you're really wondering, you're not certain, your pain comes and goes a lot, that's probably not full-blown CRPS, but it can still be neurologic pain and can very well respond to the same work. Like I said before, the body doesn't care about the label. Fibromyalgia, you have the pain all over, the deep fatigue, the brain fog, which is really characteristic of both of these conditions, the inability to recall facts and the short-term, long-term memory loss are definitely there. And then a hallmark is the fact that you will have digestive problems that your doctor is going to try to treat separately from your pain as a different problem. And it really isn't. It's connected to the same body and the same nervous system.
And now you've written a couple books on these subjects. Would you mind telling people about the book resources that you have available for them, please, and how to get them?
Absolutely. Both my books are on Amazon and Amazon for Kindle. The first one is called Taming the Beast, a guide to conquering fibromyalgia. And then my latest book is geared towards CRPS, and it's called Putting Out the Fire, New Hope for RSD CRPS. And it's equally good if you're the caretaker or a family member of somebody that suffers from one of these two conditions.
And these books are a must. If you're dealing with this condition, or if you know somebody that's dealing with this condition, please either buy them these books or get them the information to get this book, because this is at least a concept of that could provide hope for people that is completely different than anything else out there. It's not the same pain handling model that's been presented before. So it's a powerful possibility for people. And Dr. Katinka, how would people get a hold of you? How would they get started under care with you or with another quantum neurologist?
Well, my phone number is 479-966-9766. And definitely join me on Facebook. It's called the Neurologic, Neurologic Relief Center. We have about 11,000 people on there, and I am just kind of different for a doctor. I'm very hands-on. I'm on there almost every single day, actually communicating with people. So I like to be on the ground with you guys.
No, that's excellent resource. And for people suffering with this is a very big deal. And we mentioned this, we had to re-record this call because our audio, we had audio issues yesterday. But could you talk about what somebody who is suffering from chronic pain and maybe they don't have the resources to see you, there may not be a doctor in their area, what are some things that they could do to start managing or some resources they could check out aside from your Facebook page to start going in the right direction?
Well, I would definitely start with the book. If you get it on Kindle, it's just $9.99, and it is a fantastic guide that goes through supplements, because there definitely are supplements that can improve your nervous system health from the inside out. Diet changes are huge, and these are all things that you can do at home, and it doesn't have to mean a very expensive organic diet. It just means you have to cut out anything that's going to inflame your nervous system. And part of that, I would like to group stress. Stress is very inflammatory. Stress is going to put you in further fight or flight. So it is very important for you to learn coping techniques for stress, more so than people that do not have the type of pain that you have. So if your pain is not severe enough yet, and you are able to exercise, gentle exercise, like swimming exercises, pool exercises, or even walking, that will help a lot. If you are not able to do that, something as simple but very powerful as deep meditation every day, just 10 minutes of meditation, will teach or will help your brain to go back into an alpha or calming state. That will really help to fight the fight or flight.
Now, something I teach in my book, Holographic Healing, is the life and death exercise concept. And it doesn't mean that you have to be, sword fighting with somebody for real, but the idea of like rock climbing, that fear of falling is always present. Martial arts, the fear of getting hit, and you're working with that. And what I've noticed and why I teach this is because when somebody's locked in sympathetic, their body doesn't know how to unhinge from being in that mode. But if we drive it further in sympathetic, like rock climbing and almost falling off the rock, but I have a rope, so I'm okay. But what will happen is when you drop out of that activity, it allows the nervous system to downshift. Is that something that you see in this community, or is that more difficult because of the severity?
With normal patients and fibromyalgia patients, I very much agree with that concept. It's a fantastic concept. It just becomes a little bit more difficult, a lot more difficult, I should say, with our CRPS crowd, because they're physically so limited sometimes, especially once they have full body CRPS, as to what they can do. But that same concept, something as little as splashing your face with very cold water, if you can tolerate that as a CRPS patient, will sometimes help also.
Right, excellent. Now, Dr. Katinka has been training with us for, sounds like over 5 years now or so with Quantum Neurology. For those doctors out there, would you mind sharing with them what Quantum Neurology has done for you and what experiences you've had with it?
Absolutely. I always say in the 8 years of my practice before I found this work, I really was dead in my profession. Inside, I was so bored with what I was doing in practice. And then I found this incredible work, and it is like this work just got a hold of me and got inside of me. I sound a little bit evangelical when I talk about this because I'm so passionate about this. But my goodness, did it change my life and save my life, really? Because now I know what it's like to live with passion. The person, Dr. David Pascal, who is a very famous Olympic doctor that got me into this work, once told me in the very beginning, he said, Katinka, the thing that you will never be able to walk away from is how addictive these miracles are when you get to be a part of it. And I cannot agree more now. What I used to see in a whole 2 years of practice, I now sometimes see in 1 week of practice. All your miracle cases just condensed, and it's one another after the other. And get to be there for the human moments. Sometimes it's something small, like a grandmother holding her grandchild for the first time in years, or being able to hug somebody again, or to kiss somebody again because the patient had CRPS in their face. And those small things that are really huge things that make us human, that these people have lost, and you get to be there when they find it again, and that is incredible.
That it truly is amazing, and that was what Dr. Pascal, being my first student, and I would always talk about is the amazing feeling it is to watch a miracle level change happen in front of your eyes, and there's nothing that can replace that. It's truly amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Katinka, for being with us. As I mentioned, this podcast, the Hologram Podcast, is sponsored by Quantum Neurology. And I wrote a book, Holographic Healing, that's available on Amazon. We have a free ebook on lymphatics. Please email us at the Hologram Podcast at Gmail or at info@quantumneurology.com for your free ebook. This broadcast is sponsored by Quantum Neurology, and Quantum Neurology is nervous system rehabilitation. And if you're interested in finding a practitioner near you, you could go to www.quantumneurology.com and find the nearest practitioner, enter your location or your zip code, your city, and if there's no doctor in that area, you have to expand the search radius. And if you're a doctor and you're interested in learning quantum neurology, we have training available for you. We have step-by-step rehabilitation strategies all the way to certification. And you'll learn strategies for restoring muscle strength, structural correction, sensory and cranial nerve integration, and much more. We have an upcoming event, our Module 4 Sensory, for those that qualify for that, January 27th and 28th, 2017. And please be sure to visit our website, quantumneurology.com. Sign up for our newsletter so you could get the latest and updates. Visit Quantum Neurology on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can watch the videos. Subscribe and ring the bell on Facebook so you can get our listings. And I'd like to finish this with a final quote off the cover of my book. A rainbow is a holographic projection of light through water. Life is a holographic projection of light through our nervous system. This is one of the main things that I think that is observable in our environment that demonstrates that we live in a hologram and that we ourselves are a hologram. Thank you, Dr. Katinka, for being here. This was an amazing conversation, and I'm confident this is going to help many, many people.
Thank you, Dr. George. It was an honor.
All right, we'll see you soon.
See you soon.